Awesome. So yeah, today we're going to take you through again, get the most out of ShareFile features. This has been a really good, a bit of a short and long-term running. We've kind of renamed this a bit, but basically these webinars are really here for you to be sure you're getting the most value out of ShareFile. So first off, I want to say thank you. Cole said it, in the beginning. We really appreciate your time. I know you have things to do today, and you spending some time with us really means a lot to us. So again, really appreciate your time here. We hope you get really a lot of good information out of this, and hopefully this really kind of springs some kind of thoughts in your head in terms of how you can even use ShareFile more that you are today. So I know that poll is almost done. So before we end, and this is a great mix. First off, I think it's a great mix to see because we have 49% say they're only using the browser version of our application. And then we have only 14% of using all of our different applications we offer, like our desktop app and our Outlook app, which is good because we do want to be sure that we go across and showcase what these applications can help you do. And then the last one is we have 37% that kind of use both. So kind of a happy medium, if you will, but definitely seems like we have more people that aren't using any apps than anything in between. So definitely a good one to attend to for today. So
Yeah, and John, real quick, we do have a question where someone did ask, when does the new version come out? Can you clarify what you mean by version, just so we don't have any confusion as we go through today's presentation?
really good point, Cole. So when we talk about version, at least for the poll, when it comes to that, we're just talking about the actual browser. So if somebody is going to access ShareFile, typically the most common way to access ShareFile is through a browser like Chrome or Edge. So that's kind of what we mean within the poll there. Version can mean a lot of different things as well, like an application version, like you have version 1.0 and you're upgrading to 2.0. So version can be kind of misconstrued or used in different ways. So if you hear us kind of talk about that, we may be talking about the application version or a different type of application in that realm. So just as we kind of go through, if there are kind of any kind of concerns or misunderstandings, definitely put that in the QA. We'll definitely clean that up and make sure that you understand. But very good point, Cole. Thank you. All right, so let's get to the agenda. So today we're going to focus primarily on three of our most popular applications. That is first our Outlook plugin. And just to throw this out there right off the bat, we do have two flavors of our Outlook plugin. We do have a local version, which that's what I'm going to mainly talk about today. And the local version, when I say that, and going back to the version topic, is when you install Outlook, it creates a local version on your machine. And that's pretty much the common version that everyone uses. But then Outlook also has an online version or a browser version. We do have a application for that as well. I'm going to slightly touch on that piece because I do feel we have a majority using still the localized version. We do have a Gmail plugin. Gmail is just all web browser based. So I'm going to show how you install that and get that running. And then I'm going to pass it over to Ricardo. He's going to touch on our Windows desktop tool. It's obviously we do just are focusing on the Windows version. We do have a Mac version. We will send some links after that. But again, most commonly, we do see most people using our Windows version instead. And then we do have our resources, our help center, and then how to contact a person like myself or Ricardo as a customer success engineer, because typically on an account, you have a dedicated customer success engineer. So Ricardo will go through that to show how to talk to us or how to communicate with us if you need to reach out to us, if you need help with things after the webinar. Version. Again, when we talk about browser, this is using Chrome, Edge, Safari, anything you're using today to access the internet. And as usual, you're going to always access your ShareFile account by putting in the abbreviated name or your subdomain.sharefile.com. I want to showcase this first because I want to showcase how you access or download our applications. That's always important because some people may get a little bit lost in terms of where to find these tools. So when you first access your account, you're going to see apps at the top right. And this will show all the available apps that you could download today. And as you can see, we're going to go through all of these today pretty much. The Gmail account is down here. I'm sorry, the Gmail plugin. we have Outlook, and then we have the Windows desktop version that we're going to go through. So as you can see, you can download those directly onto your machine here. So if you want to follow along and you don't have the application installed, go ahead and download those now, and we're going to walk through it with you. Aside from that, we're going to first touch on the application of the Outlook plugin first. So the one thing I did want to also show is that we do have a dedicated download page. As you can see, the URL at the top is where you're going to go, and this will list all the current versions of the apps that we're going to talk about today. This is a great landing page to be sure to save, because if some of your associates or your other employers are going to ask where to download that outside of just going to your ShareFile account, you can land on this page and download each one of those independently. Cole is going to put some of these links in there to get to some of those resources as well. But again, I wanted to showcase that first, just to be sure that, again, if you didn't have that installed, definitely go ahead and install it. We're going to start, though, with the ShareFile Outlook, the localized version first. So let me bring my window over here. And we're going to start out with your typical Outlook and your view, if you will, when you open up your localized version of Outlook. Very standard, as you can see. But once you install the application, it is going to prompt you first to enter in your subdomain, which, remember, that is the actual abbreviated name at the top, or it could be your company name, .sharefile.com. So when you first install that and it pops up, it's going to ask you for your subdomain. And when you get to the next page, it's going to ask you for your credentials or your username and password, if you will. So there's a couple different ways to do that. You can enter in your email and your password as usual. If you are part of a company, you can use your company credentials. You'll see that option at the bottom there, which will help proceed with authenticating with your company credentials. So just want to throw that out there. I didn't want to waste too much time on waiting on spinning things to be sure I log into my account. But once that does get installed, it will actually pop up on your ribbon here on Outlook and options, and you'll see our logo there. That's the easiest way you know that it installed properly and you have logged into your account. If you haven't logged into your account, you would actually see this if it's installed, but it would be grayed out. So just be aware of that. But again, that process should facilitate once you actually finish the installation and then this launches. So first thing we're going to do is take a look at some of the options. I'm going to kind of go down the list here. I am going to leave most of these for later on, but I did want to show this is how you access the different options once we actually get to it. Just so we don't get misconstrued in where the different buttons are when you're accessing the plugin. So let's put a scenario out there. If, say, for instance, I'm an employee and I want to share a file through my ShareFile account with a client, and it could be that the client has never worked with me in ShareFile before, or they could already have an account, but I need to send them something. So first off, instead of going to the options, I just want to open up a new email to compose. And once I'm in here, I'm going to fill out the typical stuff here. I can actually use Ricardo here as an example, and I'm going to put Ricardo in here. Now, again, if they weren't already a client, I'm going to go through a couple options to showcase, to be sure that if they are a new client, they will get an activation link as well to set up their client account before they can actually do a download or upload or however you're going to send a link to them. So just be aware of that. But in this case, I'm sending something to Ricardo. He already has an account within my ShareFile instance. So we're ready to go to send him something. As usual, I'm also going to put in a simple subject for him. View this file. And I'm ready to attach. Now, of course, I can add a message into Outlook here to set something up, to give some description, if you will. But if I want to first start adding in a file, first thing I can do is I can first drag and drop a file in here. And this could be just anything that you have, in terms of just a document, say a Word document or whatnot. I'm just looking for one good one here. And this will actually take the file and it will automatically convert it. So if you saw what I did, again, I just drag and drop. You can't see it on my other monitor, but I drag and drop the file from Explorer or my desktop. And as you can see, it converted it directly over to a ShareFile link. So the big plus about this is that you're not adding an actual attachment to the email, just as you're traditionally used to. When it actually puts that file on there, it will convert it automatically to a share. And as you can see, we have some things up here, like when the link expires. If you're used to setting up a link to expire after a certain period of time, it will give you that information, the name of the file, and the size of the file. So with that being said, as you can see now, we have a download attachment. So when Ricardo gets this, he'll be easily able to download the attachment, which will take him to the ShareFile browser version, and he'll be able to preview and download it based on the conditions that I'm allowing him to do with that file. So you might ask, well, maybe I have some other things. Maybe I want to edit this link and have it do other things like expire it sooner or later. If you see the little option at the top, little three dots, you could drop that down. And if you see at the bottom here, you'll have the different options in terms of sending files and requesting files. You can come into here and set up your settings. You may see this a little differently from the local version, from the online version as well. As you can see, I have the online version installed on this one, so it's a little different. But if I actually click the attach settings, I can change some of these settings in terms of how my link is going to expire or how long it's going to exist. So I can alter that. I can alter in terms of what they can actually do. And as you can see, the first option is the email recipients, which is good because I'm requiring Ricardo to actually log into his account before he can download. Just as a side note on this is that I want this option to be enabled here. If it was Ricardo that was actually getting this file and he wasn't a part of my ShareFile account already, this option will get him an activation link as well, so he can set up his client account before he can download this. So just a couple points there. By the way, you can also request files from here as well. So you also have request settings. So just if you're used to the browser version, you can actually request files from users as well through the Outlook plugin. And from here, same options in terms of access. But below here, you do have the file box option here. That will tell you where that file is going to actually come to me when somebody is uploading. So I can actually edit that. And then it will actually load up the actual folders that I have available. And I can actually come home and say with me, there's a shared folder that I want these files to come to me on. As this loads, it might be loading up a lot. There we go. I have a folder called my CSE docs folder, and that's the one I want to choose. So now when I'm requesting files, and when the client clicks on that link, it's going to allow them to upload files directly to that folder. So this is actually very nice and handy to have in terms of quickly requesting files and having the client upload files to you. So you do have that capability. But aside from that, I just wanted to show those quick settings in terms of applying settings to the link itself. Aside from that, you do, oh, and I apologize, I was actually going across on the online version of that. You saw a taste of that, but you do have the same settings from here when you're going into the custom settings, same options as I was showing here below before. I do have the online version installed, so that's why it's a little bit confusing. I will show that after this as well, though. Now, if I wanted to set up a request or an upload for Ricardo, I can do that and come down to request files. And from here, you do have now the requested link so that when Ricardo gets that, they'll click on that. Just like I showed you, I configured it so that it's going to go to that CS docs folder. And that's all Ricardo has to do to upload something for me. So as you can see, it's very versatile to help save time in terms of converting files easily and also requesting files very easily directly through Outlook. So you don't have to go to the browser version to do these things. One point to come down here to now is Additionally, you do have the ability to encrypt the actual message itself as well. That is a nice feature within ShareFile or the plugin itself. Your data at rest and in transit is already encrypted. This is actually encrypting just the body of the message itself. So just be aware of that. You don't need encryption on all the time. That is something you have to toggle on and off each time if you want it. So just to be aware of that. But I wanted to throw that out there because obviously we are very security conscious, and adding this extra layer of security is something nice that we present with this plugin itself. So with that being said, let's jump back a moment. And I did talk about the options that you have in here. So when we're configuring options within the ShareFile plugin, you do have capabilities that we won't go through all of them because there are a bit of them. But in the general settings, the one thing that I like to showcase first is what you do with the attachment itself. When we're talking about, say, loading up an actual file locally, or we could take that ShareFile file that's already existing in ShareFile and put it in the email. But this is more so if I'm drag and dropping, what do you want it to do? By default, right now, I have it set to convert all attachments. So anything I actually put within the body of the message will convert over to a share link. Or I could say, hey, anything over, say, 5 MB, I want to convert it over to an actual ShareFile link. So necessarily you don't have to use ShareFile all the time for all your attachments. This gives you the flexibility. And this last option allows you to choose. So when you do put in a local file, drag and drop, it's going to ask you if you want to create that ShareFile link or not. So it's kind of up to you to kind of play around with those in terms of what fits best with you. But I wanted to share that among a lot of other settings within there that showcases within the ShareFile plugin. You do also have the default access options like we talked about, the expiring of those links after so long. We can set a default to that, as long also with the request link, you can set a default in terms of when those expire as well. So I won't go through each one of these. I did want to make a note for those that are here that are administrators, is you might be thinking, how do I control this for all my employees? Well, that's very simple. With the Outlook plugin, you do have the capabilities as an admin. So if you go to admin settings, if you're an administrator, you will see this. If you're not, then you may not see these admin settings. But if you come down to advanced preferences, and then you go down to file settings. Oh, I'm sorry. Enable share file tools. Sorry. It's a little small on my screen here. And then from here, you're going to see the Outlook plugin tool, and then you'll see configure plugin. There are settings within here, just like I showed you in terms of, say, automatically converting past a certain amount or size. You'll see that you could set that, and you could set that as a default and also prevent users from changing that. As an administrator, this is very handy because if you do have certain requirements across your company and policies to set certain rights, as an admin, you do have the capability to lock the Outlook plugin options down on this as well. So take a look at this if you're an administrator. These are very handy. If you need to lock things down, come in here and take a look and see what kind of fits for your company. But I think this is very handy if you do need to comply to certain restrictions.
John, I did want to add something about the request links. If you find yourself forgetting request links a lot and want to sort of cut out recreating that link over and over, it is something that can be added to your Outlook signature, and it can be set to never expire. That way you don't have to recreate the link over and over, and people can just be directed to your signature and upload items that way as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Ricardo. So I showed when we're in Outlook how to do a request file, or a link, I should say. But if you wanted to set what Ricardo said, you can come into the browser version, and if you request files, from here, you can actually set a link. And again, remember, there's that location, right? By default, it's going to go to your file box, which under here, is your file box. It's a temporary space that files live. If you didn't have, say, something where you needed to exist, you can always move these to, say, another folder later on. But when I request that, or when I make that, and I do get a link, when I go into edit options, I can have it set so it never expires. Actually, on this account, I don't have that option because I took it off, but you may see it in yours. And then when you have that set to never, you can do a copy, and then you can put that part of your signature. I think it's very handy because if you're going to communicate with your clients and say, hey, if you need to upload anything to me, you can always use that link within the actual signature of mine, and I'll be notified when there's something new that comes to me. So that is always very handy. And I think that's really something that the Outlook tool itself can do. But outside of that, you can always create that request link directly in the browser and then use that link that you see here. Once you create it, copy that and put it into your signature. Yeah, very good point, Ricardo. Thank you. All right. So based on that, I want to show one additional thing here is that we do have the online version for the Outlook plugin. As I showed you on this last one, that was the localized version. We do have a online version. And to download that, and say, for instance, you're using Outlook on the web, you can always come to appsource.microsoft.com. Let me kind of start that over. And Cole's going to drop a link in there for you to easily access this. But if you just type in ShareFile at the top, you'll see that you have the ShareFile option here. And if you jump right into it, if you click Get Now, that will go through the prompts of installing it for you for your online version of Outlook. And again, go through the same prompts of authenticating you directly into the app itself, similar to the local version. So if you're using the Outlook browser version, Office 365, as you can see, similar to like what you have the address up here at the top. Once you have it installed, you will see the ShareFile icon, and you do have just the same kind of options that you have for the local version. But they act very similar in terms of it. But as you can see, due to it being a browser version, you will have a little bit of a different experience in terms of dragging and drop files into there. And setting different settings. But as you can see, same regards in terms of those settings that I was showing you previously. I wanted to throw that out there because I know most people right now use the local version of Outlook. I do understand Microsoft is going to be moving more towards a browser-esque version of Outlook, just like we have here. So eventually that will be the main go-to in terms of integration with Outlook. But again, right now we do not have any ETA for that. So please, depending on your flavor of using Outlook, go through installing whatever application works best for you. But as you can see, we have you covered on both ends. All right, before I hand it over to Ricardo, I did want to show you one of our other integrations, and that is with Gmail. Similar to the Outlook plugin there, we have the ShareFile icon that you have installed, and you can actually send and request files. Now, first, you're thinking, how do I get that on my Gmail account? Again, very similar to the Outlook version. Google has a Google Workplace Market. And if you just simply go to workplace.google.com, you'll be able to actually search it. But I will say, use the link that we have dropped in the chat. It's probably the easiest way to go to find it. But you will go to the app section, and then you could search ShareFile at the top here, and you will see it along here. As you can see, I already have it installed, so it's telling me to uninstall it. So that's fine. But again, going through that same process, once you install it, it should show up on the right-hand side here. There is a little taskbar. By the way, if you don't see that taskbar, it is a little hidden. So let me just clear my screen here just to show you. You can, if it's hidden, there's a little show side panel. So if you bring that out, once you install it, you will see the ShareFile icon appear. If you don't see it right off the bat, it is really preferable to refresh your session or close it out and bring up your Gmail account again, and it should show once you do the installation. But very similar to the Outlook version, if you click on it, now I've already authenticated, but once you actually are in here, you will have on the bottom a get started, and it will go through the process of asking for your subdomain and also your username and password, depending on how you log in. But I'm not going to spend too much time here just because, again, it works very similar to the Outlook plugin, like I was showing you. But some of the nuances, just to show once you have this installed, is once you compose a new message, if you don't see that share file icon, again, you'll see the more options section. And then once you open that up, you'll see the share or request files for using ShareFile. And then once you open that, that will open up another window that will allow you to choose these items from ShareFile. Now, one point here is you can't just drag and drop items locally. This is just for accessing files that are already in ShareFile. So I just wanted to make that very clear. It will show recent files that you've accessed. So just note that that drag and drop operation isn't apparent within the Gmail account or the Gmail plugin itself. Similar though, we can insert files or request files, just like we did in Outlook. But from in here, I can add items, and then you can actually preview your different personal folders or your shared folders, and then start to choose the items that you need to actually bring in. So I can access my apps folder here and say, for instance, I have an application I need to share, and I can add that in. And there we go. I have that file that I need to send. It's our storage zone controller application, and then I insert it. But again, you do have those share link options if you click the edit options there. So you can edit, again, expiration of the link or how they're going to be able to view it or download it. You have those capabilities all the same within the Gmail plugin itself. Following the suit of the Outlook plugin, you just put in your recipient, and it would be Ricardo, and then I could put in a subject and I can put in my message. It works all the same. Remember, when you're editing those ShareFile links and edit options, you want to be sure the email recipients is tied in if Ricardo wasn't a client already of mine in my ShareFile account. Again, that will allow us to actually send an activation link so they can create their account before able to access, say, the ShareFile or the file that I'm sending to them. So just a key point there. But without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to Ricardo. I hope you guys learned a bit about just some of our email plugins, Outlook, Gmail. They work great, save time, definitely adds that value of not having to access the browser all the time. And you still have the full-fledged options of creating different links and request links, just again, outside of the browser. So Ricardo, if you're ready, I'm going to stop sharing and pass it over to you.
Sounds good. Before I do hop into the desktop app, it is important to note that with the Gmail plugin, it can only be tied to one Gmail account at a time. So if you have multiple accounts, whether it be through work or your personal account, and you find one account already has Gmail with it, you may receive an error if you try to install it on the other Gmail account. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, we're going to hop in and take a look at the ShareFile for Windows application. And as John mentioned, you're going to find it in the same area as the Outlook plugin. So you'll just click on Apps, and you'll get a list of these applications. A good trade is that you will, whatever environment you're in, you will see those applications listed as the top. Obviously, this is a Windows machine, so I have Windows listed as the top. If this were a Mac environment, I will see apps from Mac listed as the top. But you're still going to get the same applications in this area. I have already downloaded it just for the sake of time, but you would simply click on download to download and then run the installer package to get it installed. So I have downloaded and installed that. And here is the authentication piece. So at this point, it is asking me what ShareFile account do I want to tie to this tool. Like the Gmail plugin, only one ShareFile account at a time can be tied to the tool. So I'm going to use our ShareFile Rocks account. If you do not remember your subdomain, just simply click down here and then you will be asked some information and given your subdomain. Once you have that entered, click continue, and then you're going to enter your credentials for that account. All right. If you have multi-factor assigned for the account, you will be asked for a code. So got that. I'm going to enter that now. And now my account has been tied. Let me pull this from my other screen. But once the tool is set up, you'll get a little tutorial on how to use it and identifying images of the tool. Okay, so you don't want to go through the tutorial, just simply click this yes. But the main part is going to be your Windows Explorer. That's where you're going to see the tool up and running. So as I pull my Windows Explorer over, the way I know that this tool is up and running is when I scroll down, I'm going to see a virtual drive with ShareFile identifier. Now, if you do have some conflicting drive letters, you can change the drive letter or the tool. If you go to your systems tray and open that up, you'll see a small ShareFile icon. And right-clicking on that icon, you'll see options for manage, offline sync, settings, help, and exit. So when I open the settings box, pull this over as well, I can see here that I can change the letter from S to whatever to choose. So you may be doing this if you've got some on-prem storage or on-prem drives that are already using the letter S. You can just simply come here and change it to something different. We'll take a look at some more of the settings here in a bit, but I just wanted to note that as far as the drive letter. But as you can see, I'm going to get whatever is mirrored in the web browser. So when I open up shared folders, I am seeing the agreements folder. I'm seeing the e-signature folder. So everything's going to remain the same. And you still have the capabilities of the web browser. Right-clicking on this folder is where I'm going to get my ShareFile options here. So as you scroll down, you'll see what you can do within ShareFile. I can create a share link. I can create a request link. A good thing with this tool is I can make this folder available offline if I'm anticipating going somewhere that doesn't have internet. I can view details from the folder, refresh the folder if there's recent updates coming in and they're not quite showing yet, but I know that things have been uploaded. A quick refresh will show those items within the folder. I can download the folder, upload into it, and manage permissions on the folder if you are an admin and have those capabilities within the folder. And I can add to favorites like I would in the browser. And then open a website is simply going to take you back to the web browser that you see behind the Windows Explorer here. So we have all those capabilities, again, very similar to what you're getting in the web browser. It's just a little bit more ease of access without having to log into the web browser continuously. This tool will be running in the background as long as you have your machine up and running. Now, as far as the settings, let me pull that back up. And we'll go over some of the some of the options within the settings area. So first thing I'm seeing is just some identifying identifiers for the account. I have my account name, the individual or user who signed into this account. Again, if I needed to access another account who might have more or less access for the account, I would just simply sign out and enter the credentials for that particular user. I can control how this application works. Every time I start up my machine, at this point, the application is set to start out automatically. We went over the drive location. And then as I come down here, I can do some conflict resolution with files. So when files are uploaded into the tool, if there is some type of conflict with the file, the same name, or any other conflict that you may run across, you can choose how you want to be notified about that. So if it's got the same name and I want it to overwrite without having to prompt or ask me, I would just choose overwrite. The other area that is important is the help portion. And I want to pull that up really quickly. This is going to give me the version that I'm currently on. I'm able to get support through this tool. If I'm having issues with it, I can send feedback to support. I can send logs from the tool to support. This is really important if you happen to open a case and are needing some assistance with it and it's not working properly. Support is going to most likely ask you for some logs, and this will be a good way to give that information to them. Now, this tool updates automatically. It's different from the Outlook plugin, and where the plugin will allow you to check for updates with it. And the plugin does have an auto update as well, but it's going to allow you to check for updates, whereas this one does not, but it auto updates. And again, when there is a new version out there, you get a little prompt asking to download and install the new version, and most likely restart your machine to get it up and going from that new instance of the tool. But that's essentially the basics of the ShareFile for Windows tool. As I expand and go back, we did see, the main areas of this particular ShareFile account. I'm going to get the favorites area like I'm seeing here. I'm going to get network shares that are part of this account as well. And then, of course, my personal and shared folders. Again, very, very similar. Nothing's changing much. It's just, again, ease of access. I also wanted to touch base on our resources for ShareFile in general. So we have a number of resources out there. Many of you are probably familiar with this particular page, our events and webinars page. If you sign up for the webinar today, you most likely came here to register for that webinar, but this is going to list upcoming webinars. It will have some quick strips of webinars that may have been done in the past, a great resource here. We also have our YouTube page. This will list every webinar that's been done. After this one is completed today, it will be shortly on the YouTube area for you to access. So again, a good resource to find webinars that you may have missed, anything you might want to share amongst your colleagues. You can grab links for those and pass around and provide knowledge for others. Next, we have our help page. So this is the basic landing platform for any type of support help or community conversation amongst other people who may be using ShareFile. Brief getting started videos with the tool. Again, our community, if you have just general questions or just want to collaborate with other people and talk about how they might be using it, this is a good area to come to. Product documentation, all of our product links that are from ShareFile will be listed here, and then the status of the platform. If there's an outage for whatever reason, this is a good area to come to and sort of check on the progression of that outage as far, in regards to it being resolved, and just get a timeline of where things are at. And lastly, if you need to submit or create a support ticket, you just come down here to chat with us. This will start a bot to where you are opening a ticket, and then you can still request to speak to an agent if you need to, discuss things a little bit further. But would be how you initiate that initial ticket to start support. One other thing, or a couple other things I wanted to show is when we go back into our web app, in the bottom right, we have this resource center. And a lot of the things I just showed, this is a good way to get to those areas as well. You have for getting started or get started, items that are new within the platform and more product documentation on those and learning more about those. But I would say the most important thing is contacting your success engineer. If you need to or want to speak with a customer success engineer, this will be a great way to contact them. You can just simply open that up, click on Let's Connect. It's going to redirect you to a Podio form asking you for your name, email address, and a brief description of your role. And then you could just type what your question may be or what you would like to speak with the customer success engineer about. Just briefly put that in here, click Let's Connect, and then that customer success engineer will get a request on their end to reach out to you and follow up. And of course, we have our, again, support articles and how to. So yeah, that's pretty much it. John, I don't know if you had anything else to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. First off, I actually just wanted to clear because I know some people I think were getting a little confused with the browser version in the background and the actual desktop app. Just note, Ricardo was just kind of showing the differences between showcasing that it's going to show the same exact folder structures and everything in the desktop app. So do understand what Ricardo was showing you was the actual desktop application that you install. So just be wary of that. If you are going to use the application, you do have to download that, install it, and then follow what Ricardo did in terms of setting up your account. I think people, again, were just a little sidetracked, I guess, from the back end. But I think, again, really good show, Ricardo, because I think this saves a lot of time from accessing the browser and so forth. So I think it's incredibly handy for those that are on the go, that need to upload very quickly, to access their files very quickly, and it integrates directly into Windows. So you can drag and drop files directly in and out of ShareFile. So really that just helps encapsulate just the saving on clicks and going through the browser and so forth. So Ricardo, thank you so much. That was really good.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for your perspective on this too. We did have a question. I don't remember if it was answered or not, but just a general question: is there a mobile app?
Good. That is a good question. Yes. And as you see, we basically based this webinar off of 3 of the most popular apps. We do absolutely have apps outside of this, but obviously constraint of time, we are lacking a bit of that. So yes, we do have the mobile apps. If you come up to the app section here, you will see the mobile apps here. These will take you to, we do have an Android or a Google version, and we do have an Apple version of the application itself. These are great to have because just like the desktop application, it does mimic exactly what you have uploaded based on your folders and the files that are in there that you can easily access and do sharing and everything from it. So very handy for people on the go. I recommend it highly. But again, if anything, you can go in here, click them, and as you can see, it'll take you directly to the store. So if you're on your phone, you could just go into your application stores and just type in ShareFile and you'll find them here. Again, just a great resource to be able to kind of on the go access your different files. And as you can see, we have just a little bit of array of what you can actually do in here. But hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to host one all around the mobile application. So I definitely feel that's worthwhile to have one on that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, John. That was a great answer. And thank you everyone who attended today.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.